It is Friday, December 14th, 2018. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very exhausting get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. I was definitely bagging out during the middle session of open mat, but my first 5-minute roll was for me pretty epic. I think I managed to get my opponent in pretty much every single submission that I've ever learned. There might have been one or two that I didn't get, but I'll admit the gentleman was a white belt. Although I will say this, by the way he was doing his shots and a few other things, I got the impression that he had just a little bit of wrestling experience, not too much as far as jiu-jitsu goes. But nonetheless, I tried to take it easy on him. I wasn't going too fast or anything like that. And it's funny because I found that my game actually got better by trying to slow down a little bit. And that kind of bugs me because I like fast action, and I'm just not able to manage it at the moment. I think my cardio has been suffering a little teeny tiny bit, little too sedentary, watching the monitor a little too closely, Anyway, so yeah, I got him in so many different things. It was amazing to me because, like I said, I normally do not have that kind of success, and I'm sure that if I was rolling with one of the higher belts in class, I would not have been that successful, and I'm clear on that. And I felt a little self-conscious about it, but honestly, number one, I did feel a little exhausted today, and number two, I've been having a little bit of issue with my right arm, so it's one of those things where I'm trying to kind of baby it a little bit. And I thought it was my bicep to begin with, but it turns out that it's actually from knocking my elbow on the ground, in jiu-jitsu. It's just, it feels like it's expressing on the bicep side, but it's actually on the elbow side. But anyway, I did some interesting stuff. Like we were, we started off in class doing a drill that's for arm bars. And it's going from a full guard position to an armbar position. And I had actually done this drill with this guy, and I still managed to catch him in that armbar. And so and I got him in a triangle. I got him like 90% of the way to a rear naked choke before I just let go. It's kind of obvious where that was going. I got him in a Kimura. I think I got him in a Kimura more than one way too. Let's see, what else did I get that guy in? The triangle was the most interesting one because I had a grip of my foot before I was able to cock my body over and get his arm on the right side. And so I'm like, okay, I'm doing something wrong here because his arm isn't on the right side yet. I got to get his arm on the other side. And so I disengaged my foot with one hand and just kind of kept him in with my hamstring and my ankle, over his back. And as soon as I was able to grab his arm and bring it around, I reached back over, grabbed the foot, cinched it out, got my foot on his hip, angled off, and sealed up that triangle. And I feel good about it because it was like I was successful at getting it. And that's not usual for me. I spend a lot more time getting my ass kicked in jiu-jitsu than I do kicking ass. It's just part of the game, and some of my opponents might argue with me there that they think it's a little more difficult to get me than I say here, but I know a lot of them take it really, really easy on me, like I was doing with this guy. And if they really, really wanted to, they could be just like closing me out every 5 seconds, So I try not to get too egotistical about it, And so, like I said, and so I did beg out of the second round because I was exhausted from just getting that guy so many times. I think I need to do just the fundamentals classes on the in-between days just to get my cardio up a little bit, or maybe the earlier class because it's a bit more energetic. Anyway, either way, I need to be working on my cardio game. My conditioning is definitely sucking at this time. And I find it funny because I've actually been doing more cardio. I've transitioned from just doing the treadmill before I go to class to also doing some additional cardio. So I don't know what I got to adjust in my conditioning. Maybe some Tai Chi or some actual running instead of on the treadmill. But either way, I do have to address my cardiovascular threshold because it is lacking. I find, at least. I'm not able to move as fast as long as I would like to, or keep the pressure that I would like to. And that was the other thing about my engagement with this guy, is that I really tried not to apply the pressure game. And that was the funniest thing about it, because, and I explained it to him afterward, because in the second round, I don't know how, but I ended up, the second round that I actually did some rolling on, I don't know how, but I managed to get paired up with him again. It's like he was the odd man out or something. I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. And I walked up and I told him, I go, I kind of beat you up the last one, so, it's your turn to beat me up. And so I just went defensive, and we started standing, and we were in a position where he had his fist up against my chest, and I'm just like, dude, fold your arm and go for the underhook, and I don't know that he understood me, but either way, we ended up on the ground, and I just kind of let him lead the dance, and I was just defensive enough that he did have me started for an arm bar, but I showed him where the arm bar can go if I actually have a good grip on my hand, and I managed to get out of it. But anyway, like I said, I tried to take it gentle on him, and so it's like when I did manage to get a top side control on him, I just kind of let off. I kind of backed off of the body position a little bit, but I held the frame for it. So I held good side control, but I wasn't stapling his hand down with my arm, or windshield wiping his arm or anything like that, and so I just took it easy, and I waited for him to move, and then I would kind of move, and then I would let him move, and I would kind of move. But the point being is that I wanted to give him the opportunity that if he were to do the right thing, he would be able to resume his guard, and that's exactly what he did. He locked in a good half guard, and but he didn't try. I don't know that he actually managed to transition out of it. He kind of had him pinned up against the wall, and one of the things that I've had the biggest problem with, he was experiencing as well, and that's that. Once you really have that tight arm grip, you can disengage with your legs and set up your next move, right? While securing your opponent. You could be windshield wiping one leg and holding it down while you're transitioning the other behind him, and then, going from there. But the point being that you have to disengage one to be able to do something different. You can't remain engaged with your arms and your legs and get to a different position. So you got to disengage one, and so I told him, I go, that's the biggest problem I have, is that I'll get you secure with my legs and my arms, and it's like, okay, which one do I let go of? Because you gotta let go with one to get into the next position. And so he had me in kind of a weird position, and he's like, get out of it. And I'm like, okay, you want me to get out of this? I'll get out of this. And I managed to kind of muscle my way out. But, I did use technique, but nonetheless, I did get out. And, yeah. Anyway, it was a lot of fun today, and I don't know why that sticks with me the most out of what we were learning, other than I don't recall what we were learning otherwise. We were covering some stuff that Coach was bringing back from Megaton's school up in Portland. Apparently, there was a big meetup, and there were some other individuals there, of which I cannot remember their names at this moment. But they were showing one of my instructors really interesting stuff, and he was bringing that back for us. And so I'm sure that by the time I get back from the music break, I'll have at least the name of something that we were covering today. We were doing mostly self-defense stuff. Like if somebody were to be trying to get you in a full Nelson. And one of the ones that I remember that I really liked was, you kind of tuck your elbows down so you have their arms captured, right? And like you grab one of the hands as they're in front of you there, right? And then after you've secured the hand, you kind of cock to the opposite side, and then feed the person your elbow over your shoulder. And yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, that's basically what we were going through today, was self-defense stuff, and mostly from somebody walking up behind you. And it's funny, it reminded me of something that I had done a long time ago while I was still doing tackle sales. Because I was doing that Shotokan class I was talking about last time around, and one of my tackle managers thought he was funny, and and I was covering the door, basically standing next to the door, greeting customers and stuff like that, right? And so he walks in behind me, and he thinks he's sneaky, and he's got his pocket knife out like a gun, and he's got it poked in my back, and he's like, "Your money or your life?" And so I raised my arms up. I stepped back with my right foot just a little bit so I was putting pressure on his quote-unquote gun, and then I just swung my right arm down, and I managed to get under his arm and then throw him in front of me. And I don't know why that really sticks with me, other than the fact that it's more or less a judo throw that I did on this guy. And I actually threw him. He's not a small guy. He's like, I want to say like 5'11", about 250, 260. He had lost a little bit of weight while he was working there, but yeah, I think he was around like 250, 260 when I literally threw him. I felt so good about that. But anyway, that was one of those things that it makes me feel like jiu-jitsu has been like calling me my entire life. That, it's like when I did stuff to get out of things, whether I knew it or not, I was doing jiu-jitsu. It's fucking weird. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music. And, I've been sparring with LN proponents all day long. I guess they just don't understand the idea of third parties and custodians and what that actually changes about Bitcoin transactions. So here it is, Beastie Boys, Sabotage, here on Coin Metal. I would have let you go with that one, but I couldn't. It was just too long already. But that was No Submission by Static X. So sad that Mr. Static is gone. Anywho, let's see here. I'm checking out something I saw on my Twitter feed here. This is kind of interesting, and it's kind of subject oriented to what I wanted to cover. This is by Spoofy McSpoofface. It's on a tweet on Twitter. Why can't Tether make public a simple proof of funds letter via SWIFT MT799 showing they have the more or less $2 billion. After all, these types of requests are made thousands of times a day in trade finance, and Deltec is a SWIFT bank. Is it because Tether really doesn't have the cash? Honestly, I'm thinking that it's because they are a branch of the Federal Reserve, and that's why nobody really questions their solvency, because they know in the background that the Federal Reserve can just wave the magic wand and make a bunch of new dollars to pay for the fake dollars, to pay for the counterfeited dollars. That's what I consider stable coins, because they're basically they're trading something instead of U.S. dollars. And I don't want to get into all that right now. Sorry. Anywho, I got this article here, and this is kind of where I wanted to start, because we've been watching stable coins, and I've been saying that I think they're pretty much going to be all insolvent, and I think that anybody that's trying to manage one is definitely going to become insolvent either in the short or long term. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so I got this article on the blockcrypto.com. Stablecoin project Basis is shutting down and returning nearly all capital raised to investors. And this is by Frank Caparo. And so yes, I'm just going to say yes, penis. And this is authored approximately 2 days ago. Basis, stable cryptocurrency with an algorithmic central bank. Basis, one of the most well-known stablecoin projects, is shutting down and returning nearly all capital raised to investors. According to a Basis investor, Basis had a specific contract with investors defining how the majority of capital raised was required to be held. Most of the money was legally required by contract to be held in the currency in which it was contributed and could not be touched by the company until Basis launched its stablecoin. In the event that Basis failed to launch, the capital was required to be returned in the form in which it was escrowed. Since Basis contributions were made primarily in cash by investors, nearly the entire treasury of the company remains intact and will be returned to investors. The firm, which raised $133 million in funding, ran into regulatory headwinds as it attempted to get its algorithmic stablecoin off the ground, said multiple people with direct knowledge of the situation. As a result, Basis is shutting down operations and returning the majority of capital raised to investors. Backers include Bain Capital Ventures, GV, Andreessen Horowitz, Lightspeed Ventures, and a number of other firms. It is not clear exactly what regulatory agency is putting pressure on Basis, nor is it clear the exact reason why regulators have a problem with their business model or token project. Basis is communicating plans on the project shutdown after Wednesday evening, a person with direct knowledge of the situation told the block. Even as a bear market gripped the market for cryptocurrencies in 2018, so-called stablecoins, which aim to maintain a pegged value, have become a darling of the market this year. Yeah, because they allow fucking market manipulation, duh. Counterfeit. At the same time, the largest stablecoin, Tether, has drawn scrutiny from market participants for not actually being backed one-for-one by US dollars. Tether shares executive management with Bitfinex, the cryptocurrency exchange. In recent months, cryptocurrency exchange operators Paxos, Circle, Gemini, and others have launched their own stablecoins, and they are all certain to get wrecked. Writing for CoinDesk, Penelope Bicazzi, CEO of XBTO Group, predicted 2019 would be the year of stablecoins. Quote, "They can also be used as a mechanism to move value around in stable terms, and technically even for payments although the speed of the underlying blockchain may be a limiting factor for time-sensitive transactions for the time being. Multiple sources tell the block that the team is one of the most accomplished that they have worked with in their career, and that they would work with them again. One large basis investor said, quote, "This is an extraordinarily talented team with an extremely ambitious vision tackling a very difficult problem." He would neither confirm nor deny the rumors of a basis shutdown, but he continued, quote, "Our respect for the team is high as it has ever been." Yeah, they got their money back. The basis algorithmic model was complex and described in coverage at its introduction. To regulate the supply of its tokens, the Basecoin protocol itself is made aware of the market capitalization of its cryptocurrency, the demand for the coin, and the number of coins in circulation. Basically, it manipulates shit. Further, as the different tokens are used to offer different incentives, they seek to naturally create an equilibrium that keeps the price stable. Okay, continuing. The first base coin is the cryptocurrency that powers the system, pegged 1-to-1 with the value of the US dollar. It serves as the most user-facing of the three tokens, in that it's the one exchange traders and other users would interact with most directly. The second and third tokens, quote, base bonds and base shares, are those that underpin Basecoin. Base bonds are tokens to be auctioned off programmatically by the blockchain when supply needs to be reduced, and these will expire within a time frame to encourage redemption. While hailed as revolutionary by a who's who of top technology and cryptocurrency investors and experts, the algorithmic model proved impossible to implement within the context of U.S. financial regulatory environment. In the case of Basis, what many viewed as some of the most innovative mathematics in the world of applied to money was no match for the U.S. government. This article has been updated to reflect new information about the investor contributions to Basis and the amount of capital being returned to investors. Yeah. Yeah. I've told you guys many times that these stable coins are going to get wrecked. And it doesn't matter who has them, they're going to get wrecked. They're either going to get wrecked by regulatory oversight, as in the case here, or they're going to get wrecked by trying to manipulate the market and the market exceeding their ability to manipulate it. And this means that they go insolvent, either in Bitcoin or in fiat currency, one of the two. You know, Tether has lost its peg to the tune of 14 cents. That's no small margin, kids. You know, if we were talking about 99.14, oh, okay. But we're not. We're talking about 14 fucking cents. I mean, that's a lot of crypto. Or I don't know. Maybe it depends on the crypto involved. Like if we were talking about Doge, it's a decent amount of Doge. But the point being that stable coins, in my eyes, are nothing but counterfeit dollars. They have all of the hallmarks of a Federal Reserve note or other fiat currency, in that you are basically trusting the issuer. You are trusting that the issuer has a one-to-one pairing of a U.S. dollar for one of these for one of these tokens, or whatever it may be, Chinese yen, so on and so forth. And that trust can be abused and will be abused. Whether it's being abused now or not, I couldn't tell you. I think it is. But imagine it like this. See, if they don't actually have to have $1 for every, tether that they issue, they could print up a bunch of fake dollars, USDT, sell them for Bitcoin on, say, Bitfinex, then take the Bitcoin, withdraw it from Bitfinex, and take it to another exchange, and then sell it at a loss. But still, it doesn't matter, because even at selling it at a loss, they are making the money, because they get the money in US dollars for free. They didn't actually issue the tether to begin with. I mean, they didn't actually have the US dollars behind the tether to begin with. Okay, so imagine it this way. I got 500 million tether, and I slowly bleed them into the market all day long, and I sell them for Bitcoin at a loss. I intentionally sell them for Bitcoin at a loss, according to, if I actually had to pay in US dollars, or I actually had to mine for the Bitcoin, what it actually cost me to mine the Bitcoin. I sell the US tether, the tether at a loss, right? And so that reduces the relative value of Bitcoin versus US dollars, because we're trading in fictitious funds now, right? It doesn't really matter, because the exchange doesn't know the difference. You don't know the difference. You don't know that they didn't wave the magic wand and just fucking whip up 500 million tether. That you don't know that. You're just trusting that they actually have $500 million in a bank account somewhere that is, supporting these or backing these USDT, and that they can cash them out at any time. See, what happens is, again, they sell them at a loss for Bitcoin. They take the Bitcoin to another exchange, one that trades in Bitcoin to USD as a pairing. They sell them again at a loss for US dollars, and then they withdraw the US dollars. So whether or not they had the US dollars to begin with, they got some of them now. And it didn't cost them anything to devalue Bitcoin, a significant margin most likely between the two exchanges, between selling them at a loss on, selling the tether at a loss on one exchange, and then selling the Bitcoin at a loss on another. This is the point of manipulation, kids. You wonder why all these big muckety muck fucking legacy financiers are all over stablecoins. This is why. It allows them to counterfeit US dollars or other fiat currency, sell them at a loss, and make the fiat currency back. And this is, in my mind, this is kind of troubling, because right now there's this big liquidity squeeze going on. And so basically they're bleeding the fucking turnip here, because you're risking your US dollars that you actually have to bust your ass for. You're risking that against these people that can wave the magic wand and make up a whole bunch of tethers and sell them at a loss. So you want to know why we're going through the dip right now, and why it's bleeding a little bit harder than you think it should? There you go. You got traders fucking selling coins that don't have any real backing instead of the currency that you are trading in. And they can afford to do it. You can't. But I think, personally, I think the rate of depreciation of the value of fiat currencies versus cryptocurrencies is so rapid that these people will not be able to get away with this charade forever. At some point or another, it's going to be impacting some legislator's portfolio, and he's going to say, "Look, dude, I know you've been shielding me from all kinds of risk and whatnot, but I'm actually taking a loss here, and so you need to not do this anymore, because we're on to you." See, if I'm figuring this shit out, and I can work it out, and I can explain it to you in less than 3 paragraphs, you know there is some regulator that's either A, in charge of this shit, and no joke, in charge of this shit, or some federal entity, or some proxy therefore, or acting on behalf of, or they're going to figure this shit out. And somebody is going to figure out where they're getting screwed, like the U.S. Treasury. You know, fucking counterfeiting is counterfeiting. Anyway, I got this other article here that I was thinking about covering, but this one inspires me even more. And I've kind of predicted this, kinda, not really. I don't know. This one is kind of out in left field, even for me. But I have predicted that we will see another bloom of alts. See, I think we're going to run up against the wall again with regard to Bitcoin fees. You know, there's been this big transition of fiat currencies for Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin being withdrawn off of exchanges and being placed into very large wallets. And it's been consolidating there for the last few months. If you look at the estimated value of transactions on blockchain.info, you can see it. You can see it on the charts. This big ass spike of estimated value for the transaction volume, and that tells me that there's some really big players out there, and they are putting coins away because they anticipate that there's going to be this big push, and they're going to be able to force everybody to use their cryptocurrencies off-chain via excessively high transaction fees. And see, I think what's going to happen is the same thing that happened last time that they tried this bullshit. That we're going to see an even greater interest in altcoins that can do the same thing that Bitcoin is supposed to do, but actually do it on chain and not require some third party to be handling the transactions for me, or you rather. Anyway, so here it is. It's on ccn.com. Cameroon separatists create cryptocurrency called AmbaCoin. A separatist government in Cameroon's semi-autonomous English-speaking southern region of Abyssinia has announced the launch of a new sovereign cryptocurrency called AmbaCoin. Amba. Operating on the ERC-20 standard, AmbaCoin is being touted as the official currency of the Federal Republic of Abyssinia and the currently unrecognized country that separatists are pushing to actualize. QZ Africa reports that more than 20,000 AMBA tokens have been bought out of a total supply of 100 million available in the pre-ICO sale. The actual ICO is scheduled to begin on December 24th, with one AMBA selling for 25 cents. The AMBA has thus become the second cryptocurrency experiment after Venezuela's Petro to be born out of the need to raise funding and revitalize a struggling economy by a government, albeit an unrecognized one. Petro copycat or workable idea? AmbaCoin shares a number of key similarities with its Venezuelan cousin. In addition to the socio-economic upheaval that led to its creation, like the Petro, AmbaCoin claims to be an asset-backed cryptocurrency, with the assets in question being Abyssinia's natural resources and future treasury earnings. As is the case with the Petro, it is currently unclear how the natural resources and projected earnings that give it value will be quantified and circulated, and it is also unclear how the said resources will be harnessed, given that the Cameroonian military still maintains control of southern Cameroon. Like the Petro, it comes with the promise of a new national fiat currency pegged to AmbaCoin, and its promoters place a key focus on investment promises and revolutionary rhetoric without necessarily providing a clear explanation of the framework that will ensure the promises are fulfilled, i.e. they're setting up a scam. An excerpt from the AmbiCoin white paper reads, AmbiCoin investors will be able to recoup their investment in the same way as investors can benefit from the acquisition of treasury bonds and bills. As large numbers of people in the Amazonia diaspora seek to invest in the country, they will be able to recoup their investment with handsome interest far beyond that available from treasury bonds and bills. At the same time, investors will have unique and privileged opportunity to help put a nation back on track after the decades of misfortune as a marginalized people within Cameroon. Pfft, bullshit. Paper bond notes representing AmbiCoin tokens are also being prepared ahead of the proposed launch, as shared on the Facebook page of Chris Anu, the Separatist Government's Secretary of State for Communications and IT. Regardless of the economic and technical criticisms of AmbiCoin, however, it should be noted that the project cannot be dismissed out of hand for one thing. There is a genuine street-level demand in the region for money that is not controlled by Cameroon's francophone central government. Okay. In addition, there is a potentially large investor base, as many 2 million people in the Anglophone Cameroonian diaspora. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I see this as being nothing but a fucking scam. If they were serious and they gave a shit about their people, they would allow their people to mine a native coin. And it's been shown that this can be kind of an issue, but the whole temptation to associate yourself directly with Ethereum through a ERC20 token is stupid. I mean, especially considering how much money Ethereum has lost, and also the possibility that they'll be going to proof of stake. I still believe that one is a fantasy, that the miners will never go along with it, and so that it'll basically be a boondoggle. But yeah, I think this whole ERC20 token bullshit is just that, bullshit. It's introduced a lot of risks to investors and a lot of malinvestment in cryptocurrency projects. You know, if the same amount of investment capital had been dedicated to altcoins as we've seen into ICOs, and all of the innovation interest had gone into altcoins as opposed to ICOs, we would be on much better... Sorry about that. We would be on much better footing than we are right now. But you know, it's just the market cycle. It's just the interest. You know, I mean, you know, people look at cryptocurrencies and they look at their gains against their national fiat currency, and they misread it. You know, they don't understand it as the shifting interest and the shifting lack of confidence in fiat currencies, and they look at it as a profit-making opportunity. And it is both, or it can be both, rather. However, over the longer term, you have to be thinking about what you're going to do after the VC money runs out. And the problem with all of these ERC20 tokens, as I see it, is the mouse has already gotten the cheese. Doesn't need to run the maze to get it. So because it doesn't need to, it doesn't know how to run the maze. And so when it comes time for the fucking mouse to actually run the maze, it doesn't know how. It doesn't know how it got to its successful position where it got the fucking cheese to begin with. It doesn't know what the real expectations are for that cheese. What they gave up in order to get that cheese, you know, stake in the company, so on and so forth. And so they basically collapse. And all of their IP that was associated with their project gets bought at a discount by people that would be their competitors eventually, if they still were in the market. You know, this isn't a new game, kids. It happened in the 80s and 90s with PCs. It happened in the 90s with .coms, and it's happening now in crypto. It happened also previously in Linux. If you've really been paying attention to computing, these hype cycles, they're partially a way to get rid of competition. That's right. Existing interests want to retain their position. So what they do is they give a bunch of idealistic, stupid kids a bunch of money, give them some hookers, give them some coke, get them drunk, and say, here's a few $1,000,000, and by the way, we own 15% of your ass or 20% of your position in your own company. And if you're not able to get it together in 2 years, we'll talk again. Well, the kids blow through it in about 6 months because they've got this expectation of what their lives are supposed to be from this grand tour by these VC capital providers. They got to go on the yacht tour. They got to drink the nice bubbly, and they got to bang the nice chick. The hot hooker or hot. I'm not going to go there just because I see that as a positive business anyway. But in any case, that wasn't to denigrate people that actually have sex for money. I mean, that's cool, man. But anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that this is a process. If you were an organism out in the wild and you knew the hunting tactics of the predator that wants to eat you, you would do your best to try and defend yourself against it. And this is why I've said the whole time I've been doing this show that chasing adoption leads to corruption. When you're speaking in the fucking buzzwords that are being fed to you by bankers, they've already got you because they've got you thinking according to their paradigms. Back in I think in like 2015, 2016, we started hearing about scaling, man. It's got to scale. It's got to scale. No idea what the fuck that meant. And I created a meme and distributed on Twitter a lot. It's called Scale Your Butt. Because if your butt can't scale, what good is it for global transactions? It was completely pointless to me, this idea of quote-unquote scale. Okay, if I can communicate with you, I can transact with you via crypto. We've already proven that on this show multiple times. That being the case, why do I need somebody else to do it for me? I don't think I do. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I got some Static X going, but that's not really where I wanted to go with this. So, I think a little Slipknot might be in order. And I'm not going to announce what this one is because for some stupid reason, the metadata on this song and one other song are off. And I don't know exactly which one is which. I'm just going to let it roll. This is not the first self-titled album by Slipknot. Here it is. And that was The Contortionist with Thrive. And I actually figured out what Slipknot song that was. I don't know why, but like all of the song titles on that one are off. They're off by one. And yeah, like I said, I don't know why, but that was what was it? Surfacing. Yeah. As far as where else we're going to go, I was in a quandary about that, and then I thought about it, and we haven't covered a lot of other coins on the show in a while, and so it would kind of lead people to believe that it's all about nothing but Bitcoin and shit that's happening there. I do want to cover this article first, but then I dug into the links and I managed to farm out Ambicoin's white paper. And assuming we have enough time, I might actually digest the entirety of it, or at least as much as I can before I throw up. And so here it is. This one's on Coinbase.com or CoinDesk.com rather. SEC's CryptoCzar signals some flexibility on token offerings. Like they have any say over which ones you actually bother to invest in. Continuing on. Nicholas D. is the author. This is authored December 14th, 2018 at 4:30 UTC. Some blockchain token projects may be allowed to bypass U.S. securities registration requirements by obtaining so-called no-action letters from the Securities and Exchange Commission, an agency official said. Speaking at a gathering in New York Tuesday evening, hosted by the Wall Street Blockchain Alliance, Valerie A. Shispanic made it clear that such letters would be rare. Nevertheless, they are not unheard of. Quote, I think that's a way forward for a lot of people who want to implement some of these things that may not exactly fit in the format of the rules that we want, said Shispanic, who was appointed the SEC's first ever senior advisor for digital assets and innovation in June. Generally, token issuers have three options if they want to conduct an initial coin offering, she said. They can register a securities offering, apply for an exemption, or, quote, make sure they're not a security. Yeah, there's a real easy way around that one. Quit making ERC fucking 20 tokens. If your project is so fucking unique, make it mineable by the public. That's how this shit is supposed to work. Continuing on. Generally, token issuers have three options, blah, 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 blah. But in limited cases, the SEC could decide that, quote, maybe this doesn't fit the letter of the law or regulation, but it fits the spirit and we can accomplish all of the goals of investor protection, Shispanic said, meaning we can manipulate it. In those rare instances, the SEC may issue a no-action letter which states that the agency's staff will not recommend that the commission that the commission an enforcement action against the issuer. As Shispanic explained, quote, the letter set forth exactly what the person plans to do or the entity plans to do, and if it's something that the SEC feels comfortable with, we can release a no-action letter for exemptive relief, saying, quote, we can recommend no enforcement action. But that being said, the letters are not binding, and are typically dependent on the securities issuers operating precisely by the terms laid out in the approved proposal. Some projects may already have begun undergoing the process through the SEC's FinHub program, Shispanic said. Quote, in this space, I think there is room for people to come in, and we have had folks coming in either on a confidential basis or with proposals, she said. Her remarks, signaling a modicum of flexibility, are notable in light of SEC Chairman Jay Clayton's advice last month to anyone raising money by selling a token that they should, quote, start with the assumption that it is a security. Is it really a security? Speaking more broadly as to how a token may be classified as a security, Shispanic explained that any determination will be based on how the sale was structured. Quote, it's a rare set of circumstances where a token will not be classified as a security during a sale. Generally, investors in a project will be looking for a profit which is sufficient for the classification. What the fuck? If I buy something and I intend to make a profit on the sale of it, according to her, that's sufficient for the classification of what I'm selling to be a fucking security. I put up an episode not too long ago, and the title of it is something like The SEC Makes Lemonade Stands into Exchanges. That's pretty much it. You gotta listen to that. It is possible that after a project is built out, token purchasers may use the token without looking for profit, which may shift its classification, she said. referencing the SEC Director of Corporation Finance, William Hinman's speech from earlier this year. Okay, and again, with regard to this quote-unquote shifting classification, I think that, anyway, continuing on. I kind of lost my thought there. Continuing on. At the time, Hinman said that, in his view, a blockchain platform like Ethereum is sufficiently decentralized to the point that it does not qualify as a security at present. On the flip side, quote, if it's a fully decentralized ecosystem or a blockchain and a token will be issued that will be used, and that's what people will buy it for, there's no promise of profit. I think that's a potential, and that's up to people to propose it so that it makes sense, Shispanik said. At various points, she noted that while the SEC is not looking to stifle innovation or prevent capital formation, its primary focus is on investor protection bullshit. As such, she demurred when asked if the SEC was concerned about the U.S. falling behind other nations in terms of regulation. Not only that, but in her view, most ICOs are likely looking to tap U.S. investors due to the size of the available markets, Shispanik said. Quote, folks want to come to the U.S. and touch our investor and set up shop here, and I think that having strong markets encourages that in the long run, maybe not in the short run. Yeah, basically she's saying, when we kick everybody else out but our entrenched interest best buddies at Goldman Sachs and Chase and everybody like that, then everything will be cool. But as long as there's these people thinking that they can compete with those entities, we need to put a stranglehold on this ship. And I think it's really funny because I've already told you how to avoid all of this shit. Just if your project is worth a shit, if people are actually willing to dedicate the effort to supporting your project, start something they can mine. And don't be trying to peg yourself on Ethereum because, or any other cryptocurrency for that matter. And I'll tell you why. All of the ICOs that are dependent upon Ethereum or Ethereum Classic or any of these other platform coins or tokens or whatever the fuck, all of them have suffered a depreciation in value in their nest egg. All of them. Without exception. And it's because the base currency itself has depreciated in relative value as people have sold it off. And I think this is one of those points that a lot of these kids that are drumming up ICOs, they just don't understand. They think that they'll be able to get out before Ethereum tanks on them, and it's worth 10 cents, and they're completely high and dry and fucked. We've already watched Ethereum go from $400 at its peak to I don't know, it's like $100 right now. No, it's $83.59 right now. So that means that every single project out there that had, thousands of Ethereum in their cold wallet or as their base or whatever, they've all depreciated by that much. Now, as to what I was going to address on here, what would be the interest in investing in a token if not to make a profit on it? Anybody want to tell me that what the motivation is, what the incentive is to invest in a coin? With that, except for profit. That's what we like to profit. What's wrong with profit? Why should I structure my coin so that profit is not a real concern or incentive? And more yet, if nobody has that incentive, why are they going to bother to use my product? I can't necessarily point a gun at all their heads and say, use my shit. I suppose if I had a video game where it was the token of exchange, yeah, okay. That's one way to force it. I don't know. I think that people have not been really faced with the economic challenges imposed by major changes in their underlying fiat currency in their local economy. We're flying a lot on fantasy these days and a lot of malinvestment. And with all investment cycles, you do have to come to an end at some point. You just can't keep it up perpetually. You can make it look like you're able to, but where the rubber hits the road, that's where you're always going to miss. Yeah. And so, just with that, I want to get into this white paper here for Ambacoin. Amazonia cryptocurrency. Yeah. After many years of political and economic marginalization, the people of southern Cameroon have formed their own state despite the tyrannical and violent response of the Cameroonian government. The new nation is called Amazonia, and it is the first country to launch a fully nation-backed cryptocurrency to be known as Ambacoin. Actually, it's not the first. It's been tried before. I'm going to get a sip here. Hold on one moment. Amazonia has been able to successfully appeal to the United Nations, European Union, and African Union to be recognized as a sovereign nation without a military offensive. Half of the proceeds of the ICO will go directly into helping fund these efforts to petition the UN, EU, and AU. Second, the remainder will be used to kickstart the Amazonian economy. This includes the creation of a nation projects to provide an income for the Amazonian people. The key benefits of Ambacoin, my apologies, are that it is fully recognized by the Amazonian nation and is backed by the treasury. What difference does that make if they don't have any actual assets? Continuing on. Over 2 million Amazonians in diaspora will be encouraged to purchase these coins to assist in the process of building the newly founded nation-state. However, the second phase will involve using Ambacoin as the first export service to offer the billions of Africans on the continent a safe and secure method of remitting money to their loved ones. The Ambacoin will create a platform through which Amazonians can freely trade with the international market without unfair restrictions. Already, measures are underway to start the pre-sale on the 24th of October, with the main ICO scheduled on the 24th of December. Investors will be rewarded once the platform is launched with a listed price of over $4 after having purchased it for only 25 cents. Join the nation-building effort and help the world's newest economy rise to prominence. Yeah, I predict a complete collapse of this shit. It'll be worth 26 cents when they do their listed price of $4 because everybody's going to fucking sell the thing. And it might not even be worth 26 cents. Anyway, that was just the abstract. Let's see if we have any more to this thing. Ah, yes. Oh, we got a flag. Cool, flag. Abstract, blah, 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 background, blah, 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 development team. Holy shit, this thing is 43 pages. We're not going to get to all of it. But we're going to go through the introduction and all that business. Chapter 1. Introduction. Background. Ambazonia is the world's newest country. While the Cameroonian government may still want to deny its existence, the country is already about to celebrate the first-year anniversary as a sovereign republic separate from Cameroon. In order to understand the reason why Ambicoin is so important, one needs to understand the history of Abyzonia. During the colonial period, Ambiland was colonialized by the British at the same time as the French colonized Cameroon. As a result, the two countries developed completely different education, economic, political, and language systems. The name was derived from the colonial name of Ambas Procurate, whose headquarters was Victoria. It was later ceded to the Germans in 1887, and in 1916 the League of Nations mandated that both the British and French should administer it. During the independence process, instead of a separation of Ambas Bay from Cameroon, the two countries were merged following a highly controversial referendum. However, Cameroon possessed a larger territory and larger population. As a result, many of the English-speaking people of Ambizonia felt marginalized and discriminated against by largely Francophone-dominated leadership. As a result, southern Cameroon has remained both economically and politically marginalized from the rest of the country. Calls to form a sovereign nation began in 1984 when Gorgie Dinka of the Widdicombe people declared southern Cameroon as the Republic of Ambizonia. The government of Cameroon did not take kindly to this assertion, and harsh military crackdown further alienated the people of southern Cameroon. Since 1982, Cameroon has suffered under the rule of Paul Biya, a dictator who has made no effort to foster inclusion, nor improve the relationship between the English-speaking South and the rest of the country. As a result, the call by the people of the South to form a Republic of Ambizonia has grown steadily. In 2016, more determined demands for the cessation of Abyzonia from Cameroon were met with violent response by the Francophone-dominated military, which had led to a severe humanitarian crisis. Last year, the Ambazonians formed the Republic of Ambizonia after 40 protesters were killed in October 2017 by the Cameroonian security forces, and the Governing Council of Abyzonia declared independence from Cameroon. Now a rapidly growing number of the population of southern Cameroon consider themselves citizens of the Republic of Abyzonia. Marginalized economically and politically, they now consider Abyzonia to be their new heritage. On October 2018, Abyzonia celebrated its first anniversary after being declared a sovereign country. While the Cameroonian government continues to oppress the newfound nation, the citizens of the country are already making plans to create their own economy by leveraging new technologies such as blockchain to help them achieve some of the goals at the same time as gaining supportive resources from its diaspora. 1.2 The Statement of the Problem. The biggest problem facing Ambizonia is the marginalization and economic oppression of the people by Cameroonian politicians. The Governing Council of Abyzonia, in conjunction with other national leaders, needs to raise funds to forge and establish a new country while developing some of the crucial political and economic structures required to drive the nation forward to a secure and stable future. You're not going to do that by piggybacking your shit on Ethereum, dude. The biggest challenge faced by the new republic is that most of the region's resources and wealth is controlled by Cameroon, which stifles access to its assets. Numerous Ambazonians in the diaspora and other stakeholders who want to see a prosperous Ambizonia are unable to help provide direct investment to the Governing Council. The best strategy for the new country is to create a bond, which will be used to raise capital to kickstart the Abazonian economy. Unfortunately, Abyzonia has not yet been able to create a national currency of its own, just as it has not been able to develop a vibrant economy. Nevertheless, the country has huge potential. A considerable segment of the population consists of educated professionals, and the remainder is committed to help build a new country. What is now urgently required is foreign direct investment to help build the world's newest country. The benefit of foreign direct investment is that Amazonia is looking to government-backed financing. Investors who help Amazonia will be able to recoup their investment in the same way as investors can benefit from the acquisition of treasury bonds and bills. As large numbers of people in the Amazonian diaspora seek to invest in the country, they will be able to recoup their investments with handsome interest far beyond that available from treasury bonds and bills. Oh, God. These people are fucking delusional. At the same time, investors will have the unique and privileged opportunity to help put a nation back on track after decades of misfortune as a marginalized people within Cameroon. The Amazonian nation building is already underway, and after its first year of independence, the country is advancing rapidly on a number of fronts. What the fledgling country urgently needs is the positive support to establish itself as a sovereign state, taking its rightful place among the nations of the world. Yeah, dude, the way you do that is sell something for cryptocurrency, such as Ethereum, and then sell the Ethereum for a currency that isn't depreciating all that much, or at least not as fast as other currencies, and use that as a medium of exchange. Don't bother with this fucking AmbiCoin shit. You're gonna end up going broke just trying to establish the infrastructure for it. And really, that wouldn't even take all that much. Most of it's probably out there already with regard to computer hardware and stuff. Although I get the impression that the marginalized people of Amazonia probably aren't all that technology literate, meaning they probably don't have cell phones or desktops. And so trying to leverage them into cryptocurrency and trying to base your economic structure on it, again, the best way to do that would be to mine your own coin. Not back it on fucking Ethereum. You know, if people are actually wanting to invest in you, you want them to invest in you and not Ethereum. You know, the idea, I'm sure, is that you're going to be able to work it the other way. That other people will invest in Ethereum, and by extension, that you'll be able to sell your Amazonian coin for the Ethereum and be alright. Or that'll be, because it's the base for your currency, that it'll go up in relative value to fiat currencies. And while that may happen, I've seen too many instances of it not happening to have much confidence that it will. Of course, you know, I'm not the end-all be-all here. Unlike a lot of people in crypto, and even as people that have been involved as long as I have, I don't claim to be an expert. And honestly, I believe anybody that does claim to be an expert does not know what they are fucking talking about. And I think these guys have been talking to a few quote-unquote experts. But anyway, continuing on. Chapter 2, AmbiCoin. What is AmbiCoin? AmbiCoin is a blockchain initiative fully backed by the Amazonian nation. It provides Amazonia with opportunity to leverage blockchain technology in a way that no other nation has done before. The Amazonian Treasury will back AmbiCoin as a form of investment in the government. Investors will be able to recoup their investment in two ways. First, the diaspora in Amazonia will be buying the coins to support the new nation and create a positive future for the country. Second, as a nation-backed cryptocurrency, the Amazonian Treasury will buy back AmbiCoins from investors in the future at market value. As a result, AmbiCoin provides a unique cryptocurrency not seen before in the entire cryptocurrency sector. Yeah, dude, you're gonna end up getting wrecked. You know, your shit's gonna be listed at $4, and people will extricate as much of that fucking value in US dollars as they possibly can on the markets. You're gonna end up getting wrecked. 2.2. The purpose of AmbiCoin. As highlighted, AmbiCoin principally aims to help the new Ambazonian nation raise funds to assist both in the burgeoning nation building and in the initial development required to bring out the best of the industry. The chief benefit is that the Ambazonian treasury will back the AmbiCoin. Plans are already underway for the creation of fiat currency for Ambazonia that will be used to peg the future price of AmbiCoin. However, the listed price will initially be set at $4 per AmbiCoin token. The entire platform will be based on Ethereum to ensure that security is maintained to current industry standards. Yeah, unless they lose 90% of their fucking network because they try and force the miners to shift over to proof of stake. Alright, I'm done. I mean, really, it's sad to me that at least some segment of the Ambazonian people has been convinced that this is going to be a successful effort. I mean, we've seen already in the Petro that they're already having trouble with it. They supposedly tried to launch it multiple times, and now they're forcibly subjecting their retirees to it by issuing them Petro to be exchanged for bolivars. You know, I mean, like, Maduro literally did this. He or supposedly, according to the articles that I've read, supposedly this is what went down, is that first they issued the fiat currency back, you know, the bolivars, into people's bank accounts. Then they exchanged those bolivars for Petro, or supposedly equivalent value of Petro, in their quote-unquote wallets, for them to take out of their wallets and then take to an exchange and liquidate it for bolivars to then be deposited back in their accounts. I mean, can you imagine how that's gonna go down? You got people that are probably technologically advanced enough just to use a cell phone, you know, to be able to dial a phone number or be able to text their friend or something like that. These guys are Maduro's expecting retirees that probably don't even have cell phones to figure out how to go from Petro to bolivars to their bank accounts, and supposedly that's going to save the Venezuelan economy. But I don't see that as being all that successful. You know, I think that what will end up happening in Venezuela is something like this: that people will simply migrate to other cryptocurrencies that they can use. They'll get to bolivars, right? But then they'll exchange those bolivars for US dollars or something else that they can transact on a global exchange for a cryptocurrency that they can again participate in a global exchange with. And I see the same thing in the future for AmbiCoin. That currencies in general are no longer dependent upon a nation state. They don't need a nation state in order to exist. Dogecoin does not have a nation state. Verge does not have a nation state. It has users, it has miners, it has a network, it has wallets, it has people that are willing to accept it as money. But it doesn't have a nation state. So this assumption that you need to associate a cryptocurrency with a nation state is, in my mind, foolhardy. I do understand the idea of it, and until nation states are willing to make available for the public publicly mineable cryptocurrencies that they can actually participate in, that they can write software for, we're going to be in this place where we've got nation states trying to, by either structuring their shit around cryptocurrencies or trying to structure their frameworks, the laws that they intend to apply to cryptocurrencies as such that, you know, people aren't able to participate in them. Yeah, I don't see this as an idea that's really going to work. I'm sorry. You know, I mean, I know I keep coming back to it, but I think it exemplifies the root of the problem with trying to establish a top-down mentality with regard to your framework of your cryptocurrency, and that's Ethereum. They've been trying for almost 2 years now to coerce their miners into switching over to proof of stake. And they still haven't managed to do it. The miners are still saying, look, dude, we signed up for a proof of work coin, and that's what we have, and that's what we're going to mine. And the devs are just like, back to the drawing board. Because that's really all they got. And I think when they try and switch it over to proof of stake, one of two things is going to happen. Either A, or one of three things is going to happen. A, the miners are going to go along with them and they'll switch over to proof of stake and everything will be hunky-dory. That's like the best of all outcomes, right? B, the devs give up because they can see that the miners aren't actually going to switch over to proof of stake and they want to stay as miners of a proof of work coin. Or C, they do the devs release some sort of fucking butt code that forks the network, and they have enough of a network that's willing to go along with them to support a POS coin, at least initially, and they're going to end up forking their fucking coin again. That the miners will keep mining a proof of work version of Ethereum, and then there'll be a proof of stake version of Ethereum. Whether or not they'll maintain the same name, I don't know. Because we've already been through this once. We've already seen how that goes down once. With the DAO hack. That's how we got Ethereum Classic, remember? So, you know, the idea that you're going to be able to wave that magic wand and the miners are just going to fall in line and do what you want them to do, I think we're well past that illusion. You know, I really do. And trying to hold on to it at this point, I think, is kind of detrimental. You know? The mining sphere of any cryptocurrency is quicksand. So the idea of trying to build your house upon it is you're going to be just about as successful as you are in trying to establish a solid structure on top of quicksand. Sorry, these are the facts of life. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And this one goes out to the people of Ambazonia. Please, just use fucking globally traded cryptocurrencies. They're already available. You can just download the fucking software for them and go for it. Here it is, Escape from the Prison Planet by Clutch, here on Coin Metal. And that was Nevermore with the Future Uncertain. And yeah, it is uncertain. You just got to embrace that. You know, there's a lot of people trying to impose some walls of certainty out there. And unfortunately, we've already shown and we've already seen that all the ones that we've had to base our economy on and a lot of our social structures are in fact ephemeral and temporary. And so the idea of certitude of tomorrow is pretty silly. I mean, there's certain things we can count on. The earth will spin, the sun will rise. Everything else is pretty much up to question. You know, we're operating a lot on momentum and also a lot on a feeling that it can be operating as we believe it to be. Because if we didn't, we would have absolutely nothing to be using as currency at all. But it is something to keep in mind that there have been several mistakes that we have plenty of historic record on. We know why things happened. So when you're addressing your cryptocurrency or your cryptocurrency project, it's something to keep in mind. Look at the mistakes of others. It's much cheaper to learn from those than it is to learn from your own mistakes. And that's why we always say on this show, trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else can. Or will, for that matter. But we will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are going to close this one out, though. I still got just a teeny tiny little bit of time. And, of course, I can chew the air for it. But I think I'll spend this time trying to look for a Last Dance, because we actually haven't picked one of those out yet. And as much as I love Bounce, I'm not going to do that to you guys. But I will do this to you. And so that's Pantera. Pantera Cemetery Gates will be our last dance for the evening. Thank you very, very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support that I do get on this show. And so until Monday, you all have an excellent weekend. Good night.